I talked to you guys several years ago, like 2007, right when things were just starting to like go on a pretty steep climb upward, and you were talking about envisioning what the transition was going to be like, going from playing clubs to playing arenas.
What on earth did we say?
I think you were very thoughtful about how that might go, but how did it go? How has it been to?
Well, I would say I think a lot about the first time we played Bojangles in Charlotte in 2000. Was it 10 or 9?
For the 2009.
2009. That was our first, and we recorded it and put it out. It was on Palladium, so you can watch it, I guess, on Palladium or whatever that station. But it was our first real effort at playing in front of like 9,000 people in a concert, an arena, and we had that night. By the end of the night, we realized we had a lot to learn about the energy of a room that size and what it takes physically, and sort of the spirit of the room and the spirit of the performance was going to have to be developed over time. So it was a little more of a problem that was going to need to be solved than I think we anticipated. But over time, I feel like the energy that we use for it has been adjusted, and it can still be adjusted to smaller rooms when we play in smaller rooms, which we do occasionally. And I think we're just more aware of it, and who knows where it goes from here? The changes. But there was a shift in gears of energy and how we engage and release it.
And for playing, a big festival like this, I think part of it's probably that you have more people too, right?
On stage, we
yeah.
do, and that is a big part of the power and the impact of what we can deliver. Yeah, absolutely.
That said, even though you need that for a show like here in Zilker Park, you do still have opportunities to play smaller places. Like on Monday night, you're taping Austin City Limits again. Yeah. Is it good to have the opportunities to play smaller rooms like that?
It is good. I think it's good for us to keep variety as a constant element, as it's always been. So in the beginning, what was available to us was coffee shops and bars and street corners, and now arenas are sometimes available and large-scale festivals, but still big rock clubs, still mid and large-sized theaters. It forces us and pushes us to dictate the show with our dynamic and with our own abilities rather than volume. Like having 7 people on stage shouldn't automatically mean that we're loud.
Right.
And it's being in a lot of different venues has always been the most valuable way for us, and the most has the most sticking power in terms of a musical education to learn about how to present music in a dynamic way.
Is it almost like more of a, like back then it was a challenge to think, well, how are we going to play this in a much bigger situation? Now is it like, how are we going to do this in a smaller situation when you go back to
we didn't think about it then. I don't know that we think about it now.
Yeah.
I think we swell and decompress given whatever night it is.
Yeah. Just to add to that, we've also changed the way we play over the past 5 years. And when we first played the Bojangles or wherever it was, we played that show, and then we went back to smaller places, and then we played at a little bigger place, and then so it wasn't like a one day we were just in arenas, and thank God we didn't have to make that adjustment. But also over the past whatever it's been 4 or 5 years since we began to play bigger places, we've gotten older. Hopefully we've gotten a little better at what we do and how we play. We've added a lot of new members. It seems like there's a lot. We have many more dynamics to draw from in the live performance. So it's kind of everything's gone into that transition, and then when you take it to a smaller room, it's easier to go from a big room to a smaller room dynamically than it is, I think, to go from a small room to a big room.
do you have any thoughts about what you might do differently on the taping on Monday night compared to what you did 5 years ago?
Well, actually, I haven't reviewed the old one. I'm sure the working set list has changed quite a bit since the last time we recorded.
I think that it has, and the most important thing for us to do is to a cliche-sounding thing to recite here is to just do what we do, is to find those pieces that work and the dynamics that work and do those, because that's the snapshot of what we are now as a live band. Now, being a taping like it is, I think you need to bring some of that mentality of studio performing as well. So I think it's a more reserved physical endeavor. You know, I review and watch like Waylon Jennings playing on Austin City Limits from the early '80s, and he's sounding perfect, but he doesn't move a bit. Merle Haggard, same thing. Those guys are heroes.
The audience is going to them.
They're bringing the audience to them, and there's a part of that in Austin City Limits that I think is important, not to try to attack them. And I think then when we did Austin City Limits the first time, we had a hard time coming out of the attack and throw it at the people mode. Which is something we've learned along the way, and it's got to be both ways, because it is a live experience where you will reach out to the crowd, but I think it's got to be both balanced well.
Yeah.